Another woke lower judge comes up on top of one of Trump's presidential orders and steps on him, rejecting Trump's claim or Trump's ability to deport illegals. This is about an argument over the birthright citizenship or anchor babies. And this lower judge says, no, Trump, you can't deport these illegals because they have citizenship. This is going to have to be fought in the Supreme Court. I'll make that case. Welcome to Doug in Exile. Shout out to the Quad Club if you're watching 4 a day. All the money this week is going to Rebuilding Hope. So thank you. All you have to do is watch. All the income's coming in. It's going to them. So thank you for watching. Here's Wolf Blitzer with the initial announcement.
But we're also following other major breaking news right now. A federal judge has just issued a new nationwide block against President Trump's executive order that seeks to end what's called birthright citizenship here in the United States.
Okay, that's a nationwide blanket ban made by one federal judge. You can't do that. You have a jurisdiction if you're a judge, and it's not the entire nation. And that's what they're trying to pull. This won't get fixed until the Supreme Court fixes it. These cases get bounced up to the Supreme Court, and they're handled individually. Okay, that's what Justice Roberts has been doing. They'll handle just this one little case that goes up, and they reverse what that individual case is about. So in this case, if it goes up to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court merely says, no, Trump can end birthright citizenship and he can deport illegal aliens, that doesn't solve the problem. That's not a win. It has to be the Supreme Court going in and saying these lower court judges cannot make this kind of a claim. It might have to even be passed in law through the Senate. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with this, but this is a ridiculous problem. Everything Trump does, all of the Democrat judges know this is the kind of stuff that you do. You overstep your boundaries, and if you can delay it or grandstand it, then that's their form of lawfare that the Democrats are doing this time. Now, here's a tweet by Rep. Mike Collins. Judge Joseph LaPlante has blocked President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship after the Supreme Court already ruled against nationwide injunctions. I don't think the language in that was strong enough that forbids nationwide. If that's true, then this guy is doing an impeachable offense to just negate what the Supreme Court does. This will become an automatic challenge to the Supreme Court. It could bounce it right back up there. No one elected judges to make national policy, and this is just the actual document here. Order granting petitioner's motion for provisional class certification and appointment of class counsel, a careful consideration of the party's submission, the supporting declarations, the applicable law, and the filings and records in this case. The court grants petitioner's motion to provisional class certification and appointment of class counsel. That is Joseph LaPlante. That is what the judge wrote. In light of the above, this court grants the petitioner's motion and provisionally certifies the following class for the purpose of preliminary injunctive relief. That means that they're going to give them relief. They're not going to allow them to be deported. If born on or after February of this year of 2025, where one, that person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the person's father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident of said person's birth, that person's mother presence in the United States was lawful but temporary, and the person's father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of the person's birth. I just wanted to read that so you get a glimpse. We'll get a look at this judge here. Looks like kind of like Danny Bonaducci. Judge LaPlante has circumvented SCOTUS' ban on national injunctions by declaring anyone on earth deprived of U.S. citizenship as part of a class in order to reinstate his nationwide injunction against Trump's birthright citizenship. This might have a unique bend to it that may not apply directly to that Supreme Court case, like I said, where it could be that, fine, the father's an illegal, but the mother might be something that is less strongly worded as illegal, like merely overstepping a work visa or something. That's as close as I could come to making any sense of this. And then here's the article over at Fox News. Federal judge blocks Trump's birthright citizenship ban for all infants, testing lower courts' powers. The Justice Department has planned to begin forcing the landmark immigration policy as early as July 27th. Now, this could really backfire. I hope it does. I hope this gets pushed up up to the Supreme Court. And Clarence Thomas has said that they might have to take a stronger look at the birthright citizenship and just remove it altogether. This thing could backfire. A federal judge in New Hampshire blocked President Trump's executive order banning birthright citizenship and granted nationwide class certification status to all infants impacted by the order on Thursday. Now, last time I checked, Democrats didn't like infants. You know, if it was a couple hours prior to this baby being born, they do a lot worse than deport him. Here's the U.S. District Judge Joseph LaPlante said he will issue a written ruling by the end of the day, further explaining his decision. The injunction also narrows down the scope of the class to infants, removing parents from the case. In his order, LaPlante ruled that deprivation of citizenship as held by the 14th Amendment and changes in longstanding policy would create, quote, irreparable harm. Still, it is almost sure to be quickly appealed by the Trump administration. It comes after the Supreme Court reviewed the last case earlier this year and ruled 6-3 in late June that plaintiffs seeking nationwide relief must file their cases as a class action lawsuit, narrowing the instances in which lower district courts can issue so-called universal jurisdictions. Could be guessing, but with a class action, if you had people from different states, that might be what allows that judge to have higher authority than just the jurisdiction within his area, with a class action lawsuit of many different people. That high court ruling narrowly focused on the authority of lower courts, and justices did not wade into the legality of Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship, which serves as the legal pretext for the case. Still, Justice Department officials told a federal judge last week they plan to begin enforcing Trump's birthright citizenship order as early as July 27th, in recognition of a 30-day stay included in the Supreme Court's ruling, showing they plan to act quickly. So it sounds like this is going back up on the Supreme Court docket at some point. It's already due to go up there while this judge is stopping this. Trump's order, signed on the first day of his second White House term, directs all U.S. government agencies to refuse to issue citizenship documents to children born to illegal immigrants or who do not have at least one parent who is an American citizen or lawful permanent resident. So it sounds like, well, I don't know. This was the first day of his White House term, of his second White House term. So I don't get what this lower judge is even trying. The order signed by Trump on his first day in office was immediately challenged in January by more than 22 U.S. states and immigrants' rights groups, which argued the effort to end birthright citizenship was both unconstitutional and unprecedented and threatened more than 100 years of legal precedent. It was almost immediately blocked by lower courts before eventually making its way to the Supreme Court. In May, the High Court's decision also touched off a flurry of new lawsuits from the ACLU and other immigration advocacy groups who refiled class action lawsuits in federal courts in Maryland and in New Hampshire, where LaPlante reviewed the request by Fox. Lawyers for the Trump administration stressed last week that the Supreme Court's ruling did not preclude it from taking other actions before that date, and said it plans to immediately begin developing and issuing public guidance on the order. Good. Advocates have warned possible fallout for the order could prove catastrophic. Okay, well, this thing is in flux. This is moving. It's not going to stick. This lower judge's, Danny Bonaduce judge, that is not going to stick. He could get in trouble. I do hope the Supreme Court definitively, with even clearer, stronger voice, weigh in on these lower court injunctions. But what do you guys think? Does birthright citizenship get overturned by the Supreme Court, or are they just going to push back on this one case and negate this guy if it ever goes to the Supreme Court at all? I'm Doug in Exile. Shout out to the Quad Club. Subscribe.